Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about the buildings and how to develop your territories and all that. So first thing you're going to do, right, you're going to go down here to your castle, civil, right? And your castle is always going to have the develop command. Your other castles won't. So the ones that aren't like your home base or whatever, they're not going to have this command available because it's all automated. You know, your substitutes and all that, your land holders. So like, and these castles over here, they're going to be developed automatically, right? But for yours here, you're going to have more direct control. And I actually wonder if you can just jump around. I guess if you really wanted to get real specific, you could move your main base around. Anyway, so you go down to develop. You're going to see that you've got each plot of land has different resources allocated to it in terms of like farming land, commerce land, and even plots that you can build the extra buildings on top of. Now your agriculture and your commerce is going to be filled out over time, so I wouldn't really worry too much about that. Like I said, your substitutes are going to be developing these spaces. So okay, so you can see here there's a little circle there, and it's a substitute is currently developing or occupying. That means that your officer, your samurai, is already developing the farm, right? Now on top of that, you can double dip and spend labor. For the cost of one labor, you can order something else to be developed. So he's already working on the farm. If you want to start working on the fair, you can press X and just order that to start developing the fair. Okay, this is the same for any of your territories. I mean, counties, I should say. So you could keep doing this until you spend all of your labor. You could double dip essentially on each space, because your samurai should be doing something on each space. So over here, this guy's working on the farm. Over here, farm, same thing. Now different plots have different maximum capacities, and this is kind of important for what you choose to build on these two boxes down here, the land development. So the settlements are always going to be set. They're going to give you the same thing, but the numbers could be different. For example, the main one has a maximum fare of 5, whereas the farm is just a 4, right? So this will come into play when you go to build these buildings here. So these 5 buildings, as far as I've seen, they're always the same 5. You have the depot, which reduces your provisions consumed while you're traversing, which is really good, great. You have the fortress, which is good for county defense. It lets you deal a little bit of counterattack damage to the invaders as well, but the main bonus of fortress is that it slows down enemy units when they're invading. And it can be actually pretty crucial. Like, I've made defenses happen. I've been able to scramble up my forces and fight on multiple fronts just because I have fortresses blocking the routes. Not so much because of the counterattack damage, just because it takes the enemy longer to occupy the spaces before they get to the castle. So that's what this does. So this is a really good one. Then you have these two, the market and commons. Oh, actually, let me just say, for the fortress though, if you don't look at your map and figure out where you think the invasions could be coming from. You know, don't build fortresses just because, right? Most of the time, you're just going to be building a market and a commons. Or what you can do is specialize, choose one of these, and then go with your second pick, go with one of these two, okay? So don't just build a fortress in every spot. This is not like the past Nobunaga games where you could build fortresses and the counterattack damage was so crazy that you could just destroy units with it doesn't. No, don't do that. Just pick spots where you say, okay, I've got an enemy here, they'll probably invade me someday, or I'm fighting a constant war here, let me put fortresses down to slow down their advance. That's what you want to do fortress for, okay? So the market and the commons both have the same effect. They multiply how much you're getting net from the property based on whatever level it's at. So if my farm is at 1 and I build the commons here, now that farm is going to yield 1.5. So each farm is going to yield 1.5 times. Same thing with the market. It's going to increase it by 1.5. So the main thing when you're choosing which one to put down, and I recommend you put one of these down in every county. So every county that you have here on the list, everyone here, you have a land development space, you want to put one down, okay? Preference is going to play into this. Maybe you want more gold for what you're trying to do. Maybe you want more food for what you're trying to do. My advice is to just choose one for each one, and to help make that choice, look at the maximums. So for example, the fair here has a max of 5. So I'm going to be able to develop this higher than I would the farm. So it makes more sense for me to put a market down here. Because by putting a market down, I'm going to get more bang for my buck than if I put a commons down, because the maximum is 4. And so because it's a 5, it has a higher reach than other spaces. I probably don't have anything else that has a maximum fair of 5. These are really poor. These are both 3 and 3. So if of all the places to put a market, I'd want to put it here, because this is going to be developed much higher. It's going to have a much higher ceiling here. It's going to give you the most here versus anywhere else. So that's the deciding factor, I would say. But you're going to have places like this where it's split 4 and 4, and right here it's just going to be a matter of preference, really, until you get more experience, and then you have a very clear idea for what you want to do with your force in that particular situation, and you really want to maximize X so that you can do whatever you're trying to do. But until that point, and the way that I'm going to play it is I'm just going to always just choose one, and then I'm going to tab down to the next one, and I'm going to jump. Market here, comments here, market here, comments here. Now it's what you do with that extra slot that's where there's a real decision. And the decision is always going to be between the fortress and the depot, because in my opinion, you don't need the garden. Okay, the garden is just, all it does is give you 25% extra honor, but you're going to be getting honor from so many other sources. I mean, just my opinion, but disregard the garden. I would not waste any time, resources, or space on a development track for the garden. If you haven't seen my honor video, I have an honor video where it talks about how to accumulate honor, how to get it, and there's just so many ways to get honor very easily. Even blanket honor effects you can get. For example, I would get the bodyguard formation. Gives your substitutes acquired honor plus 30%. I would just get that. It has a cap of 25%. You can upgrade it later. It's got 5 tiers. It costs 300 a month. It's not insanely expensive, the first level of it. So I would get that. I would never ever get gardens. So really your second choice is always going to be, do I want fortress or do I want a depot? Both are, like I said, both are viable. Both are, depending on the situation. You could try to put another, you could just build 1 and 1. You could do that. You could say, you know what, I don't need either. I'm just going to focus on economy. If I have a plot of land like the one that I had shown, or 4 or 5, this might be worth saying, you know what, let's just put a commons to multiply the farm, and let's just put a market to multiply the fair, the commerce, and just call it a day. Again, it's up to you. You can't really screw it up. You can only maximize focus to get, to crunch the numbers a little bit more if you want, but for the most part, I wouldn't stress out about this. Your stuff is going to get developed no matter what. As long as you're not building a million gardens and wasting your space, you should be alright, You don't have to get that deep into it. But if you want to, the option is there. You can sit there and really figure out how to maximize everything, right? Okay, so another thing that you have is the town facilities. These are pretty important. These are really important. So these are the additions to the castle. These buildings are usually big modifiers onto your force. There's effects here that you can get that you just can't get from regular development. So you always have these buildings. Usually the bottom 3 are going to be locked out because you need something, some kind of requirement. They're pretty much, if you've played the series before, it's the cavalry requirement. So the stables helps you to get cavalry units. The shooting gallery gets you get musket units. And the foundry is just I don't know if it affects. I think it does give you a bonus for your muskets later on, but in the beginning you need a gold or a silver settlement. It just helps you process gold and silver, so it can make you a lot of money. So those three are usually locked off right away. You're really choosing between these 6. Okay, so irrigation canal is food, damage, disaster damage prevention, which depending on what you set the game could be really important, and it gives you soldiers. Now it's really important because it gives you 450 soldiers. Okay, trading town is just more commerce, and you have rice dealer, which gives you harvest. Now the difference between the rice dealer and the trading town is that your source of how you're getting it, right? The way that you get cash from the trading town is every month. The rice dealer is a harvest, meaning it just comes around. I think it's either every season. Oh no, it says it right there. Okay, I'm wrong. Disregard that. It says it right there. Increases harvest 200 a month. I don't know why I thought it was every season. But it says it right there. Your supply limit plus 3,000. Okay, so you do have kind of a choice between the rice dealer and irrigation canal because it's 2 different ways of getting crops. The main difference, well, honestly, they're pretty different. But the main difference for me that you need to remember is that irrigation canals increase your troop capacity, whereas rice dealers just give you a huge bonus to your supply limit for your castle, for your overall castle. So that's a pretty big difference. Outside of that, they both help to give you food every month. But the big difference, just remember, troops. Irrigation canal actually gives you troops. And for me personally, so far as I've been playing the game, I've been using irrigation canal over the rice dealer. I don't usually build the rice dealer, and I don't find that I need the supplies. Again, could just be me, but that's how it's worked out so far. Also, the disaster prevention it's pretty good. If you play with disasters on high like I do, you get disasters kind of frequently. Not an insane amount. It's not like frenzied barbarians in Civilization or something where they're just all over, where disasters are just everywhere. But it happens pretty frequently, and they're pretty damaging. So that helps a lot with that. You have Arrow Tower, which just deals counter damage, 15%. I haven't used it. I don't know that you want to be on the defensive, like, ever in this game. So, sometimes it's inevitable, but because of the way that the game is set up for you to fight your battles, the best bang for your buck is to fight your battles personally with your liege. Usually I'm trying to trigger a field battle. So I kind of ignore arrow towers. I've barely built them. Training grounds are really good. I mean, plus 900 soldiers. You need one of these right away. This might be the first building that you built just to give yourself a shot in the arm with your troop capacity. Some people build, 2 training grounds. I've built 2 right off the bat just to get that huge surplus of soldiers, and then I'll come in and I'll build the crops later. Because if you need supplies for a march, you can just buy them right away. So what you have to wait for in this game is troops. It's the only thing that you have to wait for all the time is troops. The gold and your gold income and your food income, you can kind of play around with that by buying and selling. But you can't do anything about troops. There's no instant way to get that. So I usually build 1 training grounds or maybe 2 even. The last thing is a supply station. Supply stations, I would only build them as staging ground cities. So what I mean by staging ground cities, okay, so let's say I have this part of the map here, and I just took Ogaki Castle. So this, for me, I would build a bunch of those supply stations, 2 of them. And because what they do is they give units that are passing through more supplies so that their marches last longer. So if I'm coming from this direction and I've got cities marching from way back here, everybody's going to have to come through Ogaki City. So as my armies advance through here and they pour into the valley here, into the Owari province, everybody would be picking up supplies from the supply station. So for situations like that, and you have to look at the map and kind of figure out, okay, where am I going and all that stuff, try to identify cities that you say these cities would be good for staging grounds. Just to be, you know, cities that are good to amass soldiers, or where soldiers are going to have to pass through. My armies are going to consistently have to pass through. So for those cities, I'd build a supply station. Now the last three, like I said, you need to have the appropriate icon in your city to get them, but they're pretty straightforward. Like I said, stables help you to start getting cavalry units. Shooting will give you shooting gallery gives you the musket units, and the foundry gives you a huge gold multiplier, commerce multiplier, and I also think it unlocks a policy that will help your muskets to shoot faster, if I'm not mistaken. The last thing I want to talk about is the landmarks, right? Oh, and another thing too, before I forget, you're going to want to focus on maxing these out one at a time with your labor. So if you only have enough labor, spare labor, to help your substitute work on one land, keep plugging away at the same one, because once you max out all your counties, you'll get a bonus revenue boost to the whole thing, and it's usually a 20% bonus to your crops, which is pretty huge. So just kind of try to focus in on which one you're going to want to develop, and kind of keep chipping away at them to max them out one by one by one. Just kind of cross them off the list so you don't lose track of them. So if it, you know, do it real simply, you can just start at the top, or just, you know, just jump around, see which ones, what your guys are building, and make sure that your guys are building something that's useful. Don't let them build something stupid like gardens, even though I haven't seen them do it yet, but if you see them do it, don't let them do it. Take them off of it. So anyway, the last thing is the landmarks. Landmarks, you can see them, they're like this little blue icon right here. They can start in your territory, they're already built, but they don't give you the bonus until you fulfill the condition. Each landmark is unique. I think there's like 20 or 30 in the game, and all of them are associated with all the Daimyo that are renowned in the game. So all the important guys, only the cool Daimyo have landmarks in their territory. All the little guys who are meant to kind of get just ran over, they don't have a landmark. Yeah, pretty much. So if you're playing with the Imagawa, chances are, you can see there, you have a landmark. If you're playing as a Hojo, there's a landmark. You got a landmark. If you're playing as a Takeda, there it is. See? You got a landmark. So if you're playing as any clan like that, you're gonna have it. You're gonna want to take advantage of it if you can, if it fits into your plans. Most of the times the level, because you have to level them up, but you get the first level just by developing. So you can see there the Oda clan, it says trait +1 for all castles, combat. The improvement condition, so to get it at level 1, development rate 90% or more for 4 castles in Owari. So what this means is you need to have 4 castles total, which I think you start with 3. So you need to get 1 more castle that's in Owari, so one of your neighbors, and then you need to develop the 4 castles 90% or more. So this is not really that big of a deal. I mean, it's just +1. This one is not that strong. They all kind of vary. If you go to your info list here, go to all clans, landmarks, you can see them all here. You can see their affiliation. So like I said, you can see that it's the clans that are kind of important in the game. Those are the ones that kind of have them. And you can see the effects right here. Some of them are actually really strong. Occupation speed +15%. Prestige +100. That's really good. Retainer loyalty +1. That's great because there's a policy that gives you +1 loyalty to retainers. So this is a good one to stack. This could help you really prevent your retainers from loyalty from eroding as you get bigger. Days of provisions +15. That's incredible. Anything that gives you longer provisions for bigger marches is really good. Increases the chance of employing prisoners. I mean, some of them are really, really good. And for some reason, some of them are really like, whatever. Like the Oda one, But you have to remember that you can level them up. So this is just +1 at level 1. But maybe at level 2 it'll be +3, +6. You know, maybe by the time you max it out, I don't know because I haven't gotten that far, but maybe by the time you max it out, you'll be giving all your officers +5 to their Valor stat. So that's huge, right? But it just starts off kind of weak. So yeah, those are the landmarks. Like I said, they're not... You could base your strategy kind of around them. I would say just kind of reach over and use it if you can. I wouldn't worry too much about them. Like I said, the biggest thing is to make sure that when you're developing here that you kind of go back and forth between your market and commons. Choose one or the other, or both, for some of them. If you have a really wealthy plot of land, I'd put both. And then it just comes down to fortress and depot. And again, castle facilities, my recommendation is to just get 1 training grounds, get 2 training grounds if you can. But at least get 1 right away. Just as soon as you have the labor that you can spare for it, and you have the officers that'll help you speed up that labor. Like if you have someone like Nobuhide here, he cuts it in half, which is just crazy. You know, your force is gonna come into play for this stuff. Like always, even with the most basic things, your force is gonna matter. But I would strongly recommend start with the training grounds. Maybe get 2 training grounds, because it can give you that extra shot in the arm so that you can run somebody over right away and start steamrolling quickly. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video, guys. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything I missed about the facilities, any questions, let me know. We'll be starting to play through here pretty soon, as soon as I decide on somebody. Right now I'm thinking of... I'm really thinking between Aochi, maybe Iwagawa, after Okehazama, or maybe even the one of these guys here. It might be fun to play on these guys on the island here. Maybe just because from here you can kind of sail around and stuff like that. But yeah, see you guys on the next one. Till then, take